everyone, so today I have a card that I made using the My Favorite Things Otterly Love You stamp set. I have had this stamp set for several months, and this is the first time I'm actually making anything with it, which is really sad. So I'm stamping them out using VersaFine Black Onyx ink on some watercolor paper. And I stamped the three otters, but then I realized that I forgot to stamp some of the other images I needed for my card, the rocks and the fish. So I went ahead and stamped them out using the same VersaFine Black Onyx ink. And I did use my stamp positioning tool for this because watercolor paper sometimes has a lot of tooth, and you sometimes have to stamp more than once to get a really clear impression. So I did go ahead and use my Misty for that. Now, the watercolors I'm using, they're not in frame, but it's the Magello Mission Gold watercolors. I bought them off Amazon when they were on sale, and I'm coloring the otters using 3 different shades of brown that come in the set. And these are very plain, I guess. I've not gotten brave enough to try shading with my watercolor yet. Maybe someday I will be, but excuse me. So for the fish, I color 1 pink, 1 green, and 1 blue just to make them a little colorful. And I wasn't concerned about staying within the lines when coloring these images because these images are super easy to fussy cut. So I knew I would be fussy cutting them out and you wouldn't be able to tell if I stayed in the line or not. So for the background, I know that most of us has seen the smushing technique where you take distress inks and put it on acetate and spray it with water and then kind of smush it down on the cardstock. And that, you can see my daughter's hand there in the left-hand corner. Anyway, I wanted to do that, but I wanted to use different shades of blue, and I don't have a ton of distress inks, so I decided to try the same technique with just my watercolor paints. So what I did was I just scribbled some of the watercolor onto the plastic sheet there, and then went ahead and smushed that down on the cardstock to kind of give it that blue marbly looking background that I was going to create my scene on. And I really like how it turned out. I was just playing. I think this set comes with 4 different shades of blue, and I used all 4 shades, and it was a lot of fun. I wasn't really sure where I was going with it or how it was going to turn out, but I did end up really liking the end results. And then I just take my brush and some of the paint just to kind of go ahead and fill in the white spaces along the edges. Not all the white space. I did want a little bit of white space left. So I let that dry, and while that dried, I fussy cut all of my other images out. And then I took the largest rectangle from the Avery L Wonky Stitch rectangle dies and ran that through my Big Shot, and that was my background piece. And so you can see all my little pieces there that I cut out, and I'm just going to go ahead and build my scene. And I'm using just Tombow liquid glue to glue all these down. And that little fish there, I wanted him peeking out from behind that one rock, so I glued him down first and then glued the rock on top of him. And sometimes with watercolor paper, it takes a few seconds for the images to really stick. So that's why I'm putting the acrylic block on the images after I glue them down, just to put a little bit of weight on it until they really take hold. And I am a little bit out of frame there, and I do apologize. Then I'm going to add my other two fishes, and then I decided to add a sentiment right there in the middle, and I chose I'd Be Utterly Lost Without You, which is from the same stamp set, and I inked that up with Stampin' Up! Craft White ink, which is a wet pigment ink that you can emboss, which is what I did. I used Stampin' Up! White embossing powder. And I am just going to use a top folding white card base. This is an A2 size card, so it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And for the inside of my card, which is what I'm working on now, I chose the otter holding the little heart, and then I chose another sentiment from the stamp set, I utterly adore you. And then, kind of as an afterthought, I grabbed a pink marker and just colored the heart in. I did use VersaFine ink to stamp this otter, so I knew I couldn't use a lot of alcohol ink for shading and stuff, or else it would run. But just for that one little coat of pink, it didn't hurt it at all. And oh, there's my baby grabbing the card off the table. And then I just use a lot of adhesive to stick the card front down. And then I have some aqua, some gold, and some dark blue sequins that I'm just going to scatter over the card. And what I'm doing now is just trying to figure out the placement of them, of where I want them to go. And again, I'm using my Tombow glue to hold them down. And that is my card. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.